Hi, I'm Jessa and I'm currently studying towards my RICS chartership in Quantity Surveying and Construction. Today I'm looking at the competency for ethics, rules of conduct and professionalism, particularly looking at the rules of conduct, professional obligations to the RICS, and an outline of the other publications that RICS produces for its members. As always, you can find my timestamps, sources, and a link to some example questions in the description below. Rules of conduct. The RICS has 5 rules of conduct that apply to all members and regulated firms globally, and are based on principles of honesty, integrity, competence, service, respect, and responsibility. They provide a structure for making ethical decisions and give examples of recommended behaviours to use as guidance. This provides clients with the comfort and security that they are getting this minimum standard of service. These new rules are condensed into one document and have been effective from the 2nd of February 2022, replacing what was previously the 3 separate documents for rules of conduct for members, the rules of conduct for firms, and the global professional and ethical standards. This was following research and consultation with RICS members, firms, and members of the public who felt that a single document enabled greater clarity for the members and the firms. There's now a greater focus and understanding of example behaviours, evolving technology, and facing challenges such as climate change. I'll go over the rules and some example behaviours, which are quite important to learn for the final interview. We may also be asked to give examples of how we have followed these rules within our professional lives, so it's worth thinking about that within our revision too. Rule 1. Members and firms must be honest, act with integrity, and comply with their professional obligations, including obligations to the RICS. Some examples of behaviours include: do not mislead others by actions or omissions, or by being complicit in the actions or omissions of others. Act to prevent others being misled about our professional opinion. Do not take unfair advantage of others. Be open and transparent with clients about our fees and services. And do not be influenced improperly by others, i.e. giving or receiving work referrals, gifts, hospitality or payments, or by our own self-interest. I can say that I have acted in accordance with this rule by refusing an offer from the contractor to go out for a meal while settling construction costs, which could be perceived as me being improperly influenced by their hospitality or even being bribed. The second rule is members and firms must maintain their professional competence and ensure that services are being provided by competent individuals who have the necessary expertise. Some example behaviours include: maintain and develop our knowledge and skills throughout our careers, so this means identifying development needs, planning and undertaking continuing professional development or CPD activities to address these, and demonstrate that we've done so. Firms are encouraged to support directors, partners and employees to maintain and develop their knowledge and skills, and to check that they are complying with their CPD requirements that are set by the RICS. The next is we should only undertake work that we have the knowledge, skills and resources to carry out competently. We need to check that subcontractors have necessary knowledge, skills and resources to do their tasks competently. We must supervise any employees and ensure that these employees have the necessary knowledge, skills and resources to do their tasks competently, and reflect on the work undertaken and its impacts, and considering how we might apply what we have learnt into our future work. I've demonstrated this by complying with CPD requirements and requesting relevant training at work when I'm starting a new type of contract or project. Rule 3 is members and firms must provide good quality and diligent service. Some example behaviours are: understanding client needs and objectives before accepting professional work, agreeing with clients the scope of the service to be provided and its limitations and timescales for the work, undertaking work in a timely manner with due care, skill and diligence and in accordance with RICS technical standards, communicate with clients and others clearly and in a way that they can understand, and when advising about clients and projects, encourage solutions that are sustainable in that they minimise harm and deliver balanced economic, social and environmental benefit. And finally, understand the risks and benefits of using relevant technology. I do this by having initial meetings or discussions with clients to understand their requirements, to make sure that I have the relevant knowledge to accept this work. The fourth rule is members and firms must treat others with respect and encourage diversity and inclusion. We do this by respecting the rights of others and treating others with courtesy, working cooperatively with others, We don't bully, victimize, or harass anyone. Firms will check that supply chains do not involve modern slavery or other abuses of the workforce, and members and firms report abusive labour practices to proper and recognised authorities if they become aware of or suspect them. I do this in my day-to-day through collaborating in my project team and treating everyone with respect, courtesy, and understanding. The fifth rule is members and firms must act in the public interest, take responsibility for their actions, and act to prevent harm and maintain public confidence in the profession. For example, members and firms question practices and decisions that they suspect are not right, and raise concerns with colleagues, senior management, clients, RICS, or any other appropriate person or body where they believe in good faith that it's necessary to do so. Firms provide processes to allow support to individuals within their organisation to raise concerns with senior management. Members and firms also support directors, partners, employees, colleagues, or clients who have acted in good faith to report concerns. They'll respond to complaints made against them promptly, openly, and professionally. They'll ensure that public statements made by the firm, or in which members are or could be identified as members of the profession, do not undermine public confidence in the profession, and they'll manage their professional finances responsibly. I can say that I've practiced this rule by thinking about the consequences before posting on social media such as LinkedIn that can be affiliated with my professional life. To help members make ethical decisions, there's a document called the Ethics Decision Tree, which provides step-by-step guidance and considerations on how to deal with ethical issues that we might face as professionals. From the start, the steps are as follows. Do we have sufficient facts on the issue, ensuring to separate our emotions from these facts? Next, we must consider the legality of an issue, in which we could seek advice from a lawyer if we were unsure. If it is legal, is it also in line with the rules of conduct? If so, then have we consulted with appropriate people to make an informed decision, such as our managers or contacts at the RICS? The fifth and sixth steps show that we need to make sure that there's clear reasoning and information utilised in reaching an informed decision, and the final thing to consider is whether we would be content for our actions to be made public, say within the local media or on the internet. If the answer is yes to all of these questions, we can proceed and act, but it's important to record the decision and its reasoning and reflect on the action that we made. If we say no to any of these questions, it would be best not to proceed. Professional obligations. At the end of the Rules of Conduct, there is Appendix A detailing professional obligations to the RICS. There are 3 mandatory obligations for members and 7 for firms, with some overlap between them which makes remembering these a little bit easier. Members have to comply with CPD requirements set by the RICS. Chartered members have to complete at least 20 hours a year, 10 of which are formal, so this means structured learning with clear objectives and outcomes, such as a training course. The remaining hours can be informal, which is more self-managed learning related to the professional role, such as private study, reading industry news, or on-the-job training. There's another decision tree from the RICS for CPD to help determine whether the activity is formal or informal, and there's also a detailed checklist in Annex A giving examples of the different types of formal and informal CPD to help make sure that we log these correctly. These are recorded either on the app or on the RICS website, and it's best to choose CPD based on any potential weak or limiting areas of knowledge and what would be beneficial to us for future projects and any hot topics that may arise, such as changes to building regulations. The other 2 obligations for members overlap with the obligations for firms. Members must cooperate with the RICS and promptly provide all information that's reasonably requested by the Standards and Regulation Board or those acting on their behalf. The remaining obligations for firms are as follows. Firms must publish a complaints handling procedure, which includes an alternative dispute resolution provider approved by the RICS and maintain a complaints log. They must ensure that all previous and current professional work is covered by adequate and appropriate professional indemnity cover that meets the standards approved by the RICS. Firms with a sole principal must make appropriate arrangements for their professional work to continue in the event of their incapacity, death, absence, or inability to work. Firms must display on their business literature, in accordance with the RICS published policy on designations, a designation to denote that they are regulated by the RICS. And finally, they must report to the RICS any matter that they are required to under the rules for the registration of firms. RICS publications. To help members and firms meet their professional requirements and obligations, the RICS have published different documents establishing standards and guidance to follow. International standards are high-level documents developed with other relevant bodies and are intended to be used globally. One example is the RICS has helped to develop the IPMS, or International Property Measurement Standards, with a group of over 80 professional and non-profit organisations to implement standards for measuring properties, but they are not the sole authors of this document. Next is RICS professional statements, like conflicts of interest. These are publications that are essential for RICS members and firms to follow. Then there's RICS guidance notes, which are not mandatory to follow, but the guidance is accepted as best practice and recommended. Although they are not mandatory, it would put a surveyor in a difficult position against a professional negligence claim, or for them to be backed up in court if any issues came from their professional work. Codes of practice are documents produced by the RICS with other professional bodies or stakeholders with the same status as either a professional statement or guidance note. For example, the Code of Measuring Practice states at the beginning that it's a guidance note for use in the UK and has been produced by the RICS Property Measurement Group. The last type of document is the RICS Jurisdiction Guide, which is information to support the adoption and implementation of a professional statement or guidance note. An example of this is the Valuation Global Standards 2017 Jurisdiction Guide, which gives background, implications of legislation, taxation, regulations, and how the Red Book has been implemented in the UK. If you're doing the quantity surveying and construction route like myself, it's definitely worth becoming acquainted with the Black Book, which is a set of RICS guidance notes more specific to our area of work. It's also worth knowing about the professional statements and code of practice, also relevant, which can be found on the RICS website. Thanks for watching this video. Learning the rules of conduct and our professional obligations is definitely one of the key things across all competencies for the RICS APC. I'm also making other videos to do with mandatory and technical competencies, particularly from a quantity surveying perspective, so please feel free to check out my channel for more, or for videos relating to construction and mental health. That's all I have to say for now. I hope it helped build on your mind.